Mr. Shelby. Ms. Sinema.
Standing up and shouting it from the rafters, Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema left no doubt about her vote to protect the U.S. Senate's filibuster rule. Afterward, Republican senators flocked to Sinema to shake her hand, kind of a high five. Her vote helped shut down a sweeping voting rights overhaul that was at the top of her party's agenda. Welcome back to Square Off. 1 year into his presidency, Joe Biden's polling numbers are, quote, bleak, discouraging, and truly terrible. That's according to one of the NBC News pollsters. Some quick snapshots. A new NBC News poll shows just 43% of Americans give President Biden high marks, but 53% say he's done a poor job uniting the country. Let's look at key blocks of voters. Biden is suffering his greatest losses among the independent voters who can decide elections. Just 36% approve of his performance. That's down 32 points from last April. Joining us to tell us what Biden's problems mean for the country and the midterms, Chris Love, an attorney and Democratic activist who's also board chair of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Arizona, and Tyler Montague, a longtime Republican activist. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Chris, when you look at these poll numbers, what are they telling you about Democrats' chances about winning Arizona's statewide and local elections in the fall?
Well, it tells me that we have a whole lot of work to do. And I have to tell you that I'm probably one of the Democrats who is in the unhappy segment of the polling. I think that the Biden administration has some ways to go in order to make sure that they're seen positively so that we can win some races in 2022 in Arizona. And so when you say words like bleak, that's where I am. That's what we're up against right now here in Arizona as Democrats.
So talk about that a little more, though. There isn't much time left. Typically not much gets done in the year of an election. What could Biden do to turn things around?
Well, I think that you've seen in the polling some of the handling around the coronavirus has been a problem for him. I think he's gone back on some of the promises that he made during his campaign. We've seen, repeal and then an extension of the student loan referendum or the moratorium on student loan payments. So I think that, Americans are still experiencing economic anxiety because of the pandemic. And I think that some of the things that they could do to put in place would really involve dealing with the pandemic head on and dealing with people's economic anxieties around what's happening.
I want to go to Tyler now. Tyler, do you think Biden's poll numbers would be even worse in Arizona?
Yeah, the last numbers I saw from Arizona were exactly 43-53, I believe. So he's doing a bad job in Arizona, and Republicans are licking their chops. This is going to be a red year. And so Democrats face serious headwinds, and it's all because of it'll be a referendum on Biden's performance, and he has not been able to deliver anything that anybody's really excited about.
That independent number is a really tough one. Huge losses among independents, and in Arizona, any Democratic candidate needs independents to win. And so, Tyler, can a Mark Kelly or a Katie Hobbs, can they win without them? Is this saying? You
can't win without the independents. If you're a Democrat, you need to win those independents. You need to, Biden won the state with disaffected Republicans and independents, and Biden has not given them any reason to stay on board. The worst thing that happened to Joe Biden was to lose, for Republicans to lose those Georgia Senate seats. He now has control of both houses, and they've forced the agenda to the far left, and he hasn't governed from the middle. And so he's alienated those people that he won over when it was versus Trump. And so he's got a lot of uphill work that he's set for the Democrats.
And Chris, that voting rights bill was destined to fail. Was it a mistake to go ahead with it, bring it to a vote?
Well, I think it, was a symbolic. It was a symbolic gesture to the folks that actually put him into office, right? So he had a strong African American contingent, a strong Native American and Latine contingent that really pushed him over the edge in places like Arizona, and so voting rights are important to those communities in particular. And in states like Arizona, where we're seeing Republicans offer a deluge of bills that would make it more and more difficult for those communities to not only get to the polls, but to have their votes counted once they're there, I think that Biden needed to do something. I'm not sure that this was the thing that needed to be done, but at the very least, we should have been working toward restoring some of the portions of the Voting Rights Act that were struck down by the Supreme Court in 2013.
It seems the only Democrat who might be a winner in all this, depends how you define winner, is Senator Kyrsten Sinema. She told everybody 2 weeks ago, sorry, I'm not going to bust the filibuster. So right there, that meant this bill was dead. But looking at those independent numbers, Sinema has played to the independents for years now. Tyler, could she overcome that? The loss of Democrats who are just deserting her with independents here in Arizona if she were to run again in 2024?
Well, I think she could. She's going to have to do something to not be primaried. And at this point, people are licking their chops to primary her. But she has done a good job of sitting on the middle and getting some of the center right to be on board. The party out of power always gets religious about how sacred the filibuster is, and she has, supported that. And I think Democrats will all of a sudden get religion again once they're out of power. You've seen quotes from them, and so it might be actually wise what she's done. And once the anger blows over, she'll be okay. She certainly has positioned herself well to win the middle.
Chris, are you one of the Democrats who's done with Kyrsten Sinema?
Well, I will say that Kyrsten and I go way back. We went to law school together. We've been friends. She was even at my wedding, right? So saying that I'm done with Kyrsten Sinema is kind of a weird question in and of itself. But I will say that she has made some calculations with respect to where she feels her political future will be. And I think that calculation is toward the middle and to the right, quite frankly. And she hasn't been wrong in any of the other calculations that she's made all the way to the Senate and beyond. And I'm just one of those people that doesn't think that she's interested in running for the Senate again. So all of the talk about primarying her, although I think it's necessary for the party, I don't know that that's a reality. I think she's going to be on to bigger and better things.
I think you've got that exactly right. A lot of people are asking the wrong question about what Kyrsten Sinema's next move is and looking maybe a little too hard at 2024. Before we end, I want to go quickly, just a little right turn here, to the Secretary of State's race in Arizona and some really interesting developments there, Tyler, with the financing, the money race there on the Republican side. Give us a quick breakdown.
Yeah, if you look at the results, Bo Lane earned by far the most of any of the candidates. And you see a lot of traditional Republicans donating to him. I think they're afraid of a stop the steal conspiracy theorists like Mark Fincham or some of the other candidates getting in there. And so I think you're going to see some support coalesce around there. And that would make him the favorite in spite of President Trump's endorsement of Mark Fincham.
And Bo Lane is a longtime advertising marketing executive in Phoenix. He is a classic establishment Republican. So, and I should add, Mark Fincham came in second in fundraising in the Secretary of State's race with $500,000. Chris, when you look at the Democratic field, can they put up a good fight in this race?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. I think that, Secretary of State is a lot about name recognition. And right now we have two candidates who have a lot of name recognition in the state of Arizona. Adrian Fontes, who helped run our election in Maricopa County in 2020, and Reginald Boulding, who is the Democratic House Minority Leader. So I think either one of those candidates will put up a good fight against Bo Lane. And, for my benefit, I hope it's a Bo Lane and not a Mark Finchem, quite frankly, because I think Democrats and Republicans mainline in both parties are absolutely frightened of a Finchem victory.
Yeah, and Secretary of State is going to be more important than ever. The focus, that person is going to have to certify the 2024 presidential election. So that is a much higher profile race than ever before for that reason and many others. Chris Love, Tyler Montague, thank you so much for joining us.